Well, okay, let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon again, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Paul Slack with Vende Social, and I'm excited to share with you some tips and tricks that are designed to really help you capture and convert more business online. FYI, we are recording today's webinar, and we are going to provide a copy of the slides that we're going to go through today, and I have several of them. So don't feel like you got to take copious notes as we go through this information. Feel free to take notes if you need to, but we will make sure that everybody gets a replay of this as well as copies of the slides. Let's go ahead and take a look at our objectives. What are we hoping to accomplish with you in the short amount of time that we have together this afternoon? Well, first and foremost, we really do hope that we deliver some value. Hopefully you'll learn some things today about internet marketing or social media marketing that you didn't know before you came to today's webinar. Hopefully you'll have a few aha moments, write down a few things that you'll be able to take back to your office as early as today and get some real value from. And then what I want to do is help you understand buyer behavior and really how has buyer behavior changed over the last several years, especially the last 18 months or so, as a result of all the new technologies and all the new social media platforms that are out there. Then how can we as marketers really take advantage of this new shift in buyer behavior to help us grow our businesses and capture more sales? Then we're going to talk about how do we, now that we understand buyer behavior a little bit, how do we tie our tactics into our overall strategy? At the end of the day, we all want our businesses to grow, and the world is changing and buyer behavior is changing, and so there's always new tactics. Every time I turn on my computer, it seems like there's a new way to try to go after customers. So really, how do we tie smart tactics into our overall corporate objectives? And then I want to make sure that we have time to answer your questions here at the end, so stay tuned. If you have questions, you can chat them in as I'm going through the content today. I'm not even going to look at the chat window, though, until the end, and then I'll try to get everybody's questions answered. If I don't have time to get your questions answered in the time that we've got allocated today, I'll certainly follow up with everybody and make sure that your questions get answered. Also, for attending today's webinar, we are going to provide a complimentary consultation that includes a website analysis and a social media analysis of your environment. Some of our really smart people over at Vende Social are going to take a look at your environment and give you some feedback there. We're also going to do a search engine optimization analysis. So we've got some great sophisticated tools that we can use to really get up under the hood, so to speak, look at your website and give you some feedback on some things that you can do to make your site more search engine friendly. And then once we put those two things together, we'll sit down with you over the phone or in person if you're here in the Dallas area and have a 30-minute strategic consultation to share with you some of our ideas based on the information that we've learned. So stay tuned for the end of the webinar today, and I'll walk you through how to get that scheduled. So a little bit about Vende Social and why we're qualified to talk to you about the things we're going to be covering today. Vende Social is really all about equipping, enabling, and empowering businesses for social media success, and we really do believe that all media is social media today. And so we're celebrating our 15th year in business, and so we're excited about that. We've been helping businesses leverage the web to grow sales since way before there was a Facebook, or way before there was a Twitter, or even before Google was a household name. And so excited to come to you today and share with you some of our thoughts and perspective. We also have a co-host, which is Promotion, which is a great partner of ours. They do all of our animated videos, and so if you're looking to get animated explainer videos made for your business, I highly recommend that you do, because people would rather watch the web than read the web, in my opinion, these days. Check out these guys' Promotion. Their videos are all about increasing conversions and engagement. They've created over 800 videos, and you can visit them at promotion.com. In fact, I've got their website up here. I wanted to show it to you. This is my site, but here's Promotion site. Again, promotion.com. You'll see that they've got great samples, tons and tons and tons of samples that you can check out and see how they make video. I've even had them make a few videos for us. You can see an explainer video that gives a nice overview of our business at our website. Just go to vendesocial.com and you'll be able to see the video. Of course, I thought it would pop up right away, and we're going to have bandwidth issues, but vendesocial.com, right here on the home page, you'll see one of Promotion's explainer videos. Here it comes right now. You can also learn a little bit about us, so check that out at vendesocial.com. So as we talk about, capture and convert, 5 surefire tactics going to help you tap into more customers. The first thing that I really have to remind us is that we need to learn to embrace innovation. Innovation is always occurring. It never waits for us. And you might be thinking that internet marketing or social media marketing is a fad or something that's going to maybe I just can forget about it, stick my head in the sand and hope that it goes away. Well, I would encourage you not to do that and to really embrace innovation, because one of these days, if you don't, you're going to wake up and realize that you're Darth Vader here and the world has passed you by, and I certainly don't want that to happen. But more importantly than that, if you can really learn to embrace innovation and apply some of the tactics that I'm going to share with you today, you're going to find that you'll be able to connect with these 3 big benefits that I think are the ultimate benefits for any small business. Number 1, it's going to get you in front of more customers. Because we all want more customers, right? If we get in front of more customers, we're going to make more sales, number 2. And if we make more sales, we're going to generate more revenue for our business. But one of the great things about web marketing is that the buyer is an active participant. In fact, many people would refer to web marketing as a buyer-initiated media, meaning the customer is taking a step towards you, and you're taking a step towards the customer. And because of that, there's no waste. In the world of traditional advertising, you have this thing called waste. Every time you send a postcard or a flyer to somebody's house and they don't want what you're selling and they throw it in the trash, well, that's waste. Well, in the internet marketing world, you don't have any waste. And because of that, your cost per acquisition is way down. And every dollar that you save in cost per acquisition, guess where that goes? It goes right to your bottom line. And so unlocking these keys are really going to help you generate not only more customers and revenue for your business, but ultimately more profit. Now, since we are going to be looking at buyer behavior, I thought it would be great for us to kind of get in the eyes of a buyer for a little bit. And I couldn't think of a better buyer, and I'm going to age myself here a little bit, than a typical buyer than Clark Griswold. I'm a big fan of the National Lampoon Vacation series. I think Christmas Vacation is probably my favorite one. But I think, Clark is a great example of a typical buyer. He loves his family. Here he is taking his family on vacation, and in the vacation first movie of the series, and he's a hard worker. He's always going to the office and doing good work, and so he makes good money, probably has disposable income. He likes to use the internet to research things and plan things, and so he's out there on the web doing that kind of research. Just like all of us, Clark loves to shop and buy. Don't we all love to buy? I mean, we like to buy things, but just like Clark, we really don't like to be sold, right? And that's a key thing. If we're going to be successful in the world of web marketing, we've got to remember a fundamental truth, that people love to buy and they hate to be sold. And you know what's crazy about that? As I go around the web and I look at other businesses and what they're doing online, it seems like all they're doing is selling, selling, selling. But here's the problem with that. Clark is now in control of the conversation. And if all we're doing is selling and people would rather buy than be sold to, then we've really got the wrong approach to internet marketing, right? And so what we've got to do is understand that Clark will buy on emotion first. So before we make the rational sell, we've got to connect with Clark in a very emotional way. We've got to talk to Clark about things like safety and security and pleasure and esteem and fear of loss. These are things that keep Clark awake at night, or things that he thinks about. One of the great things about the web is that the web enables us to create, especially because of social media, what I call virtual personal relationships, which means that we can basically connect with our customer, even as a business or a brand, and establish a virtual relationship that feels like a very real relationship. And once we start having these types of relationships with our prospects online, we can then try to meet their emotional needs. And once we have done that, well, then we can start focusing on the rational thinking component. So step 1 is we've got to reach Clark emotionally, and then step 2, we can start talking to him about our features and our prices and our reliability. But what's going on in most cases today online is businesses are starting with these issues and not trying to connect on the emotional side, and that's really missing out. And so we need to really understand that. I'm going to share with you some good tactics today that will help you connect with your buyer at an emotional level. And one of the big reasons for that is because Clark is now in control, guess what? Clark is also now part of your marketing department, whether you like it or not. In fact, statistically, did you know that consumers really only believe what we say about our products or services about 14% of the time? But on the other side of the coin, they're going to believe what somebody else says, what Clark says about your products or services nearly 80% of the time. So it's really critical that we understand that Clark is part of our marketing department and really equip, enable, and empower Clark to go out and say very positive things about you in social media and online, and you're going to see good things happen to your business. Now, because Clark likes to buy things but hates to be sold, we can't come across as a pushy used car salesman online. That doesn't work. It seems like a lot of people haven't figured that out. But what I like to tell customers about, or to think about, would be rather than trying to be a pushy used car salesman, why don't you try to be what I call a social media concierge? And if, I'm sure we've all stayed at hotels before where there's a concierge. Think about their role for a second. Number one, their role is not to sell us anything, right? Their role is to make sure that, we have a good time in their hotel, so if we need to be at a meeting, they're going to point us to where we need to go, or if we want to have some great Chinese food, they're going to tell us where a good Chinese restaurant is. They also are going to tell us, how to have a great time in their community or their neighborhood. And so as a social media concierge, we want to do the same thing. When we run into the Clarks of the world that have an interest in our industry, we want to make sure that they have a great time in our industry, and we do that by answering questions for them. And we do that also by making sure we point them in the right direction. Now, sometimes that means pointing them to our products and services, and that's awesome. But sometimes that means sending them down the road to another company that's more qualified to meet their needs. Now, as we're talking about buyer behavior, we need to understand the customer life cycle, and it kind of looks like this in today's world. Number one, that buyer, Clark, needs to become aware of your business. Then Clark needs to build trust in your company, somebody that maybe he would want to do business with. You need to make it easy for Clark then to share information with others in his decision cycle, okay? So make it easy for him to share it with his wife, and I can't remember Clark's wife's name. If you do, please chat it to me. I'd appreciate that. And so make it easy for Clark to share your pitch, and that's where I love what Promotion is doing with their explainer videos, because they make it very easy to just show a video to another person in the decision chain, and you're getting a perfect sales pitch that way by them just watching the video. And then number four, what is it that we want Clark to do? We want him to ultimately purchase products and services from you. Now, it's important to also understand that because of the web, we've had this tremendous opportunity to connect with different buyer types at different stages of the buying funnel. Now, one big mistake that I see happening in the world today when it comes to internet marketing is everybody seems to be focused on the now buyer. The now buyer has this profile. They have a desire or a need. They have the means, they have the money, okay, to satisfy that desire or that need, and then they have a compelling event. There's a reason. Think of a family vacation or needing to move or relocate to a new city. So they have a desire, they have the means, they have a compelling event. Here's the thing about now buyers. They're great because they're ready to take action, but they're also not so great in that everybody's going after them, and to target them is getting more and more expensive every single day. Another challenge with now buyers is this. Because of the web and ubiquitous access to information, it has never been easier to learn and self-educate. And so today's now buyer is the most self-educated consumer of all time. In fact, if you look at this slide right here, you're going to see that before your phone ever rings with a now buyer on the other end of that phone, that now buyer is 57% through the decision cycle before he ever picks up the phone and calls you, or before he ever fills out a form on your website. Now, why is that significant? Well, it's significant because while Clark is out there doing research on his own before he's connected with you, he's starting to establish beliefs on how to satisfy that need, want, or desire that he's trying to get satisfied. And so he's already establishing those beliefs, and then he calls you. And then when he calls you, if your features, advantages, and benefits don't match up appropriately with his beliefs on how to satisfy those needs, you've gone through all this effort and paid a lot of money to get your phone to ring, and you still may not make the sale because you've got that mismatch. What I'd rather do is connect with Clark early cycle and help him formulate those beliefs, and that's going to give me a much better opportunity to make the sale down the road. In fact, that's what I call a future buyer. And so it's not a different person. It's just catching Clark a lot earlier in the cycle. And so what is a future buyer? Well, it's basically the same person, but he's missing one or two of the critical ingredients that make him a now buyer. And so maybe he doesn't have the means yet, or maybe he doesn't have the compelling event yet, but he's definitely somebody in your target audience and that's what a future buyer is. And so in today's world, especially because of social media, it's super easy to find and connect with these future buyers, come alongside them as a social media concierge, answer the questions that they need answered, and help them formulate their beliefs so that when they go from future buyer to now buyer, they're now ready to buy from you. Now, to make this work, we've got to change the focus a little bit, and we need to understand that our buyers are going to go through these 4 different stages. 3 of them are future buyer stages, and 1 of them would be a now buyer stage. And that's the dreamer stage. That's when, maybe Clark's thinking about where he wants to go on vacation, and he doesn't know if he wants to go out to the mountains yet or if he wants to go to the beach yet. Another stage would be the learner stage, where now I know that I'm going to the beach. Now I just need to know what hotel or what beach I want to stay at. To the evaluator stage, which is really kind of comparing prices and just seeing all the different features that might be at one resort or the other. And then the future buyer or the buyer stage obviously would be, okay, I'm ready to make that transaction. And so we really need to be connecting with our buyers at each of these different stages. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you need to flush your now buyer strategy down the drain. Okay, that's not what we're talking about at all. Now buyers are great, they're ready to buy, but I want to open your eyes to future buyers, especially, let me back up here for a second. If you think about this funnel here, there's a lot more future buyers out there, okay, a ton more than there are now buyers, and they're a lot easier to connect with, and they're a lot cheaper to find when it comes to media acquisition. And so let's go ahead and just jump into kind of what we're talking about here in terms of connecting with our audience and these surefire tactics that are going to turn your browsers ultimately into buyers. Now, I call this the tactical wheel. It's something that I actually developed, and everybody's going to get a free copy of my book, Social Rules. And I developed the tactical wheel and wrote about it in the book. I have a chapter on each of these different stages, but these really are the universal and fundamental things that any business needs to, or tactics that any business really needs to leverage day in and day out if you want to accomplish 2 things. Number 1, connect with your customer. If you want to do a couple of things. Number 1, leverage social media in a way that is going to connect you with your customer, and then number 2, do it in a best practices way so you know that you're not going to be stubbing your toe in any way in particular. And so let's take a look at each one of these in detail. So the first one is listening. The first thing we ever want to do online today, and it's so easy to do because the world is an open platform, is just listen to the conversations that are going on out there in social media today. And we do that by understanding our key phrases, and you can see the word or the phrase key phrases right there. We need to understand what are the words and phrases that our target audience might be talking about in social media, or better yet, think about it this way. What are the words and phrases they might type into a Google as they're researching information about your industry or products or services? You can then take those very same key phrases and go over to sites like Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever and put in those key phrases and find people that are using those words in their conversations. By the way, I call those people leads, right? Because if you've done your homework and you know what those key phrases are and you type them into Twitter, that's probably somebody you want to do business with. We also want to listen as a way to find content that we might want to share with our target audience. And so I've got some examples that I'll show you. So one of our clients is a tutoring company, and you can see that one of the things that we listen for are students that are struggling with assignments in school or particular subjects in school. And so you can see we've got a couple of examples here. We've got Hayden at the top that says she needs help with math, she needs help with chemistry, she needs help with history and literature, but most of all Spanish. So Hayden really needs some help, right? That's a great example of a potential customer. Here's Carlo down here that says he needs help with geometry. And so this is an example of using listening as a way to find prospects. So what we do, we use listening, as I mentioned, as a way to really find our target audience. Building community is the next step of the tactical wheel. And what we're wanting to do there is make it easy for people to friend, follow, and connect with us. And in building community, there's really 3 A's we need to focus on here. One is the awareness A, so making sure that people are aware that we exist. Number 2 is the activation A, which is making sure that it's easy and we're letting people know how to connect with you and how to find you on Facebook or how to find you on Twitter and what's in it for them if they follow you there. And then the third A is the A of advertising. And so I've got some examples of what we're talking about here, and I'm going to start with the third A, which is the, I'm sorry, let me back up just a little bit. I'm going to cover this engagement example here, so an awareness example. So going back to this listening that I showed you in the listening step, so we found these two people that were talking about needing help with school, and so what did we do to help our client build awareness with them? Well, we actually engaged with them, and we said, hey, we've got great tutors that can help you, and here's a link to get your first session free. And so you can see that's a way of building awareness. And then also we want to make sure that you've got your follow us information on all of your printed materials so that anything that comes in contact with the general public, even things like your email signatures, that you're letting people know how to connect with you and follow you in social media. So let's take a look at advertising real quick. And this is something that we've added to our presentation in the last year because it's no longer an earned media. Social media especially is no longer an earned media. Facebook is taking care of that. It is now a buyer media, meaning we have to go out and pay for it. But the good news is the targeting is so excellent on Facebook, and the cost per click, as you're going to see here in a minute, is very, very good when compared to like things like Google AdWords, for example. So one thing that we want to do is we want to publish in our social platforms on a regular basis. We want to promote those posts. You can do that in just about every social media platform anymore. It costs from a few dollars to a couple of $100 depending on the industry that you're in and the target market that you're going after. But I highly recommend that with very strategic posts that you plan on boosting those. The reason why Facebook did this, and you know they made a pretty major change about 1.5 years ago to where it's hard for us to get our, especially for businesses, and it becomes harder every day for even the people that are liking your Facebook page to see your posts. And the reason that they did it, and of course they claim that they're doing it because they want a great user experience, but here's the real reason. Take a look at this chart. You can see exactly when Facebook did the algorithmic change and the impact that it's had on their stock price. So Facebook goes in and says, hey, we're going to change things. We're going to make it harder for businesses to get their posts out to their followers, but we're going to give you this opportunity to boost those posts and pay us money. And guess what happened to their stock price? It's gone through the roof. And so it's certainly working for them, and quite frankly, it can work for you if done well. We use advertising for most of our clients on Facebook, and we get really great results. And here's an example of one of our clients that's a real estate agent in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You can see we have a post here that's just highlighting their hot new listings and their open houses for the weekend. And for $100, we reached 16,500 people and got 695 clicks to their listings page at 14 cents a click, which is a really, really good value. Any guesses on when we started advertising this particular client's Facebook page? Yeah, you bet, right there. So advertising does work. It's affordable. It's a great way to connect with those future buyers. So let's move on and talk about broadcasting. So listening helps us find our target audience. Building community helps us get them to friend, follow, and like us. Broadcasting is all about what we're going to say to them now that we've got a community. And I want to give you a recipe for success here. This is something that has been tried and true for the last couple of years. We implement it with most of our clients, and we get really good results, and that is that about 20 to 30% of what you post in your social channels should be designed around creating engagement, getting them to share, getting them to like, getting them to comment on what you say. 20 to 30% should be curated, meaning you found something interesting that you thought your target audience would like, and you post that out on your Facebook page. 20 to 30% should be designed to drive traffic back to your website. A big one that this is a big miss that I see a lot of companies not thinking about is getting people out of Facebook and into your environment. 10 to 20% of what you post in social should be in other people's environments. So going on to other company pages on Facebook and being a part of the conversation there, for example. And then 10 to 20% of what you post needs to be promotional, where you're really giving them a call to action and a reason to take the next step with you. I also want to put a plug for video, because when you look at what's going on Facebook today, you probably notice there's more and more video showing up in your news feed, and the reason for that is video always gets engagement. So when you're thinking about that 20 to 30% that needs to be engagement, think about getting video on your Facebook page. In fact, look at the number of views of this particular video that's just floating around Facebook right now, and it's got a lot of viral appeal. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I want to show it to you graphically. A big part of our job has got to be to get people out of these social platforms into our environment. I want you to think about these social sites as kind of like ponds that we fish in. We fish in those ponds because the Clark Griswolds of the world are there. It's easy to find them. It's easy to connect with them. But our ultimate goal is to get them out of Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or wherever into your environment that you own or control. That's where you have the best opportunity to convert them. And 10 to 20% of your posts really need to be designed that have links back to your website that are going to draw people out of these environments into your environment. One of the easiest ways to do that is to have a blogging strategy where every single week or twice a month you're writing a periodical blog, and that's living inside of your website, and then you socialize that blog in the social media platforms. Here's an example of another one of our clients, and it just talks about a blog, and it's teasing that blog, and then when you click on the link there, it takes you back to their website, and that's where they have the best opportunity to convert that browser into an actual customer. Okay, so let's move on to the fourth step here, which is the content step. And really, content is the fuel that makes social media go. If you think about it, you could do some listening, you could do some building community, you could do some broadcasting, but you're never going to get anybody back to your environment if you don't have really great content. Now, just like I gave you a recipe for success in terms of what you want to broadcast, I want to give you a quick recipe for success here on what kinds of things should you be writing about when you blog. And it looks pretty similar, but we're going to look at it from the perspective of the marketing funnel. Remember, Clark Griswold is in control of the situation, and he can come to your environment at any stage of his buying process, whether he's way up here at the top in the awareness stage or way down here as a now buyer in the purchase stage. And so if we're going to be smart content marketers, we've got to make sure that we're creating content in all three stages. In fact, I recommend that 30 to 40% of the blog articles that you write are in this awareness stage. Information that's useful and beneficial to your target audience before they're in market for what you sell or do. And then 30% should be in this evaluation stage, which really gives content on, understanding and evaluating all the different features that are available to them or options that are available to them. And then 20% or so should be in this purchase or decision stage where you're really talking about why they should do business with you and nobody else. Now, when we create content, I'm going to encourage you to not just crank out the content, and man, there's a ton of that out there today, but take some time to really create something that's more than valuable, you're going to create remarkable content. I mean, think of the word remarkable for a second. Worthy of a remark, right? Remarkable. Well, in the world of social media, we want people sharing our content, and so we want it remarkable. We want it to be something that they want to share. Let me try to illustrate that graphically for you here. Here's a building, okay, and it's not a remarkable building, okay? I think we all know that. I'm sure it's a very useful building, a very practical building, but if you were to drive by this building on the way home today, you'd probably not even notice it, let alone tell anybody about it. But take a look at, going the wrong way. Take a look at this building here. By the way, this is a real building. I didn't Photoshop this at all. This is Longaberger Basket's headquarters, and my guess is if you'd never seen this building before and you drove by it on the way home tonight, you'd probably tell somebody about it, right? Because it's a remarkable building. Well, in the world of content marketing, we want to create remarkable content so people will share that with their peers. And here's a list of some remarkable content. I'm not going to have time to go through every one of these, but some of the key things that I want to hit on are, number one, remember that stories sell. People would rather hear you tell a story about how you helped improve the life of an individual or helped another business maker save money than your speeds and feeds, okay? Frequently asked questions is another good one. Go talk to your sales reps and ask them what are the 3 or 4 questions that you hear every single time the phone rings, and you can take the answers to those questions and turn them into blog topics pretty easy. Lists and organized content, you may wonder why it seems like every blog that you read is top 5 this or top 10 that. The reason for that is people don't read the web anymore. We skim the web, and if you'll take the time to organize the content, keep it around 500 to 700 words, you're going to have something that's a lot more shareable than a tome of 1,000 words or more. Also, I'm a fan of being controversial. Take the counterpoint. Be willing and brave to take the counterpoint. These are just some examples of things that you can do that are to create remarkable and compelling content. You know, another thing that I wanted to highlight here, and one of the reasons why we're so excited to partner with Promotion on today's webinar, is that we can't forget about video content. You know, video is such a critical component. I said it at the beginning of the webinar. This is something I don't think your competitors fully get yet, but I want to share with you. People would rather watch the internet than read the internet. Okay, we've been reading it like a newspaper for 15 years, but now we can watch it like a television, and that's what your customers would rather do. Also, YouTube is the second largest search engine. So Google is number one, YouTube is number two. If we don't have a video strategy in our content marketing game plan, then we're missing out on the second most source of traffic. And so we've got to have a video strategy if we're going to get into this particular search engine. On top of that, search engines absolutely love video. So not only are you going to rank well in YouTube, the second largest search engine, but your video can also rank well on sites like Google, Yahoo, and Bing. Now, if you're going to create video, I am not telling you to create a commercial about your business. You want to go back to that previous slide about all the different types of content that's remarkable. None of it I said was a commercial. But the same idea, story sell, being controversial, those are the things that are going to work in the world of video content. Nobody wants to watch your commercial unless you force them to watch your commercial. That's why they're called commercials, you know. You want to keep the videos pretty short, 30 seconds or so, no more than 3 minutes, and I would say anything really over 2 minutes and you're going to lose your audience. Here's some other benefits of video. Number one, you're going to get more traffic to your website. You're going to get more conversions because of number three, the perfect pitch. Remember, we talked about that life cycle of the buyer. At one point in the buyer life cycle, they're going to have to get other people on board with this decision. And how awesome is it to not try to get Clark Griswold to be your salesperson, but rather just have Clark show his wife a video that explains exactly what you do and the value of what you do. And so it's the perfect pitch. It's also a great way to liven up just your culture and your story and a lot of information about your business. And people that watch videos have better retention than when they skim things. And so these are all reasons why you might consider getting video, and why I consider video is a must-have. In fact, for all of our clients, we are getting them involved with video right now, again, because I don't think their competition has figured it out, the significance of video. And video is becoming more and more affordable every day. Okay, so everything that we've done up to this point, from listening to building community to broadcasting to creating remarkable content, has really just teed us up for this last and most important step, which is the converting step. Now, I mentioned earlier that we don't want to come across as a pushy used car salesman, okay, because people hate to be sold. They love to buy things, but they hate to be sold. We want to come across as a social media concierge, but that doesn't mean that we should forget the ABCs. And the ABCs simply mean this: always be closing, right? Always be closing. We need to make it super, super easy for whenever Clark goes from future buyer to now buyer, and that whenever he's ready to raise his hand and say, I need to learn more, I'm ready to talk to a sales rep, I'm ready to get pricing, that you've made it super, super easy for him to say yes to you, okay? And some things to think about when it comes to converting. Every single month, you need to have a game plan for what are your offers and promotions going to be for that month. This is not a fly by the seat of your pants type media. You've got to come at it with a very strategic approach. So every month, know what your promotion is going to be, know what your offer is going to be, and make sure that you're working that into your content plan in a way that doesn't feel overbearing. And that's why I gave you that recipe for success earlier on what percentage of your posts should really be offers. In fact, that's what the 90-10 rule is all about. I'll show you. I've got a slide on that in just a second. Here's an easy miss. People forget to put their contact information all over the place. You need to make sure that when somebody's on your Facebook page, somebody's on your Twitter page, somebody's on your LinkedIn page, wherever, your phone number is there and your contact information is there so that they can call you at any moment in time, that they don't have to go hunt it down on your website. You need to have calls to action, and you need to tie everything to your website because, as I described earlier, these sites like Facebook and Twitter, they're just ponds that we fish in. We want to get people out of those ponds into an environment that we own and control, and that's why everything needs to tie to your website. So let me give you some examples here. Here's the 90-10 rule. It's real simple. 90% of what you publish out there needs to be useful and beneficial to your target audience. And then that gives you the right for 10% of the things that you publish to have special offers and calls to action tied to them. So an example of that would be, here's a real estate client of ours. You can see that we live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and the real estate market's getting really, really hot here. And so we just ran this last week talking about one of the communities here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and we target it just to the people that live in this community. And our call to action is receive a free home value appraisal from the roads team. So that's our 90-10, that's our 10. And then we boosted the post, and you can see we spent $100, not much at all, and we generated 132 clicks to the site, which turned into a ton of leads for our clients. And so that's what I mean by a promotional post. Now, I mentioned putting your phone number everywhere, and we've been talking about the importance of video. So make sure the last slide in your video or the last part of your video has contact information in it as well and a call to action so that people know what to do when they're done watching your video. So that's the tactical wheel. Those are the five surefire steps to capture and convert more folks and to turn browsers into buyers. I'm going to give us a quick summary slide here that we can walk through and look at, and hopefully we're about to move into the Q&A portion. So here's some of the key things that we talked about. Number one, we need to identify how our customers are researching information online. So when Clark's a future buyer, what are the things that he's looking for? What are those key phrases that he might be using? Number two, we want to identify what type of information is important to them and what type of format do they like to consume that information in. So do they want to watch a video? Do they want to look at an infograph? Do they want to read a blog? Number three, we want to produce content that meets their needs. So at the end of the day, we don't just create content for the sake of content, because all you hear about is content marketing today, but really we want to attack this from the outside in. Number four, we need to optimize our content for search engine rankings, okay, because Clark's going to go online, he's going to do some searches in Google, he might do some searches on YouTube. We want to make sure that we're showing up in those really critical channels. Number five, we want to promote our content organically in social, and what I mean by that, I gave you an example with one of our clients. We write a blog and then we do a Facebook post that says, hey, check out our blog. That's what I mean by number five. Number six, we want to provide multiple ways for interested buyers to learn more. Okay, that's making sure your contact information is everywhere, making sure that you've got good forms on your site, making sure it's easy for them to opt into things, and that you have more than one call to action, because remember, Clark's going to be at different stages of the buying funnel, and so sometimes he might want to call you, but sometimes that may seem overbearing to him, and because he doesn't want to talk to your sales reps yet, but maybe he'll fill out a form to opt in for a premium piece of content or something. Number seven, we want to advertise our content in search and social. I gave you some great examples of how we're doing that in social media today. And then number eight, because people would rather hear what Clark has to say about your business rather than what you have to say about your business, remember, our customers trust what Clark says nearly 80% of the time, but they trust what we say about 14% of the time. We've got to make sure that our happy Clarks are going out there into places like Google Plus and saying very positive things about your business. And so those are the key tactics, if you will, to turning browsers into buyers. And we talked about next steps at the beginning of the webinar. Everybody that's attending today is going to get a free copy of my ebook. We'll be happy to send that out to you. We'll make sure you get copies of the slides that we covered. I just went through about 58 slides in about 39 minutes, so I know you probably missed a little bit. Happy to send the slides to you. Be sure to register for our one-on-one consultation where we'll do a social media analysis of your social presence. We'll do a website analysis as well. We'll do an SEO analysis, and then we'll sit down with you for 30 minutes and go over what we found. And to get that scheduled right away, just reach out to my administrator, Christy Wyatt. There's her email address and her phone number, and she'll be happy to set that up for you. And so what we're going to do now is just take the rest of the time and make sure that we get your questions answered. And if you've got to run, that's fine. If you can stick around, happy to answer your questions. I am going to tell you I'm doing this by myself today, and so I'm going to, and of course, they have changed the way that this works, so bear with me as I get to the Q&A part. And if you have any questions about internet marketing in general, social media marketing, the material that I covered today, we're open to covering any questions that you have related to any of these topics, and so feel free to ask your questions. One of the questions that we often get asked when we talk about future buyers and now buyers is, is it really worth it to go after the future buyer? Does it really make sense to do that? Because you never know when they're going to go from a future buyer to a now buyer, and wouldn't you rather spend your energy just working with now buyers? And I would tell you that unless you are a commodity type product or service, I couldn't disagree more. I really do think future buyers are where we need to be spending the bulk of our time as internet marketers for a couple of reasons. One, they're super easy to reach and they don't cost very much. There's not a lot of cost associated with connecting with them. And number two, it gives you lots of time to nurture your relationship with them and really help them establish and formulate those beliefs on what it is that they, what it is, how to best satisfy that need, want, or desire that they might have. And so that's always one that I feel is really critical. These future buyers are a tremendous asset to your business. And so if you have any questions around future buyers or now buyers of the Tactical Wheel, feel free to ask those. And I'm not seeing any questions coming in, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap the webinar up unless I see any come in the next few seconds. Thanks again for your time. We'll be reaching out with the slides as well as a replay of the video. If you want to schedule that one-on-one consultation, when we send out the slides and everything, just reply back to that, or you can reach out to Christy Wyatt, as I mentioned earlier. Give you guys one more chance to answer questions. Hopefully I turned that feature on. If not, where do we get the ebook? Okay, so we got one question. We're going to send you guys links so that you can download the ebook, and it'll also be attached to the email with the slides and the replay. So thank you for that, Eva. Looks like we've got another question coming in. So I got a question from Jay, and Jay, you're asking about how does a company that provides in-house financing for small businesses work with social media. That's a great topic for us to cover during the 30-minute consultation. At a high level, we've worked with companies very similar to yours. If I'm understanding the way you're describing your business, it's all about the channel, right? And it's all about understanding your buyer. So you may not be doing a lot of things on Facebook, but you might be doing some things on LinkedIn. And it's all about understanding who you do business with and making sure that you understand what they're researching online and that you're providing information that meets those needs and a call to action for when they're ready to connect with you. So hopefully that answers your question, Jay. If not, we'll be happy to have the one-on-one session with you. Andre's got a question about if you're a new customer and using YouTube, won't low views damage your business? And I don't know that I'm understanding the question completely, Andre, but if you're saying you're a new customer and you're using YouTube, everybody's got to start somewhere. And so I wouldn't be concerned about having low views right away. And there's certainly lots of good things that you can do to grow those views. And I would certainly be making sure that YouTube, even though I'm using YouTube as the place to host my videos, that's not the only place that my customers can see those videos. As a matter of fact, I showed you our website earlier, and we've got our explainer video right on our homepage so that people can watch that video and learn about our business that way. So hopefully that answered your question, Andre. Thank you for that. Let's see here. Okay, well, I think that's all the questions for today. Thanks again, guys, for joining us. We'll be sending all those resources out to you shortly and also reaching out and getting these one-on-one consultations on the books. You guys have a great day. Be sure to check out our website, vendesocial.com, for more information on us. Or to learn more about animated videos, check out Promotion at PROMOSHIN, promotion.com. Until next time, have a great day. Thank you, guys.